Love is everywhere. Hello, how are you doing out there? Today we're blessed to have Lance with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Stopping by.
Tell us about yourself, Lance.
Tell us about myself. Well, I'm a minister. I serve the Lord full time. I have a foundation. It's an interesting topic for your show. Love is everywhere.
Yes.
And God is love. I think a lot of times people have a misinterpretation of that because the world has taught us what I like to call conditional like.
Right.
Meaning I'll do this for you if you do this for me. And so the absence of love can be felt in a lot of places where we start to see with ourselves when love is unconditional. Meaning you're not expecting something back from the other person. And when we can love freely, not expecting something back, it opens up doors.
That's right.
Yes. Jesus tells us to love your neighbor as yourself. And oftentimes we don't know how to do that. So we have to be taught as time goes on.
That's this show, because we are here to show how we love.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. What do you think? I mean, what are your interpretations of love? What have you seen?
For me personally, love is caring about the other person, and yes, loving unconditionally. I have learned how to love without expecting anything. In fact, you're right, it has freed me. Because if you love freely and not expect anything, it's limitless.
Absolutely.
Yes, you can do anything. And in fact, the last relationship that I had, because I went in without expectations, so that's why it lasted that long.
Yeah.
It even lasted more than when I was married. So.
See, look at that.
Yes, and so the thing is, if you go in without expecting anything, you are not disappointed. You're not going to be disappointed because no expectation.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that. They go in with an expectation and they think they're going to change someone, which you're never going to change anyone.
No, but
you learn to kind of say, you love this person for who they are, not what you think they're going to be or what you think you can make them.
That's right.
And that's the whole concept of actually taking a person and go, we're two parts to a puzzle. A person does not complete you, it complements you.
That's right.
You have to be complete, and then a person can complement you. And I think too often people are trying to find completeness in an individual. Because of that reason, they still feel incomplete and blame the other person. But that was never their responsibility.
No. Nobody is responsible for my happiness. I am responsible for my own happiness. Thus, happiness, or love for that matter, is a choice. It doesn't matter what's going on around the world. I choose to be happy. I choose to be loving.
Absolutely. You can have a joy that transcends all understanding, and that's the point. It doesn't make a difference what's going on, and a peace that transcends all understanding.
That's
right. But the thing is that if you're expecting someone else to do that, that's conditional.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes people will get disappointed when they're like, you're supposed to do this. I always find it fascinating when people are dating.
Yes.
And then when they get married, there's a shift. And it's like, why does that relationship change? Because now you're automatically putting these burdens on someone. It's like you didn't have those burdens before. You should live continuously like you were when you were dating. But society tends to teach people, you have to do this when you're married. And I go, no, why do you have to do this? You should accept each other for who you are.
That's right. And the challenge with with the people nowadays is society itself puts these limitations, or how do you say that? They have a certain idea or certain persona of a person. Well, like for women, we are supposed to be skinny, we're supposed to be this, and we're supposed to be that. And what about if you're not? Then you don't feel loved, and then you don't have confidence because you don't think you meet the what do you call that?
A preconceived notion. I think society puts a preconceived notion on people, and you're not supposed to be like everyone else. You're supposed to be yourself,
unique.
But everyone wants to blend in, and that makes it difficult because you feel like you have to be something that you're not to be accepted. But God made you to be different. He made you to be who you are. That's why you have a purpose. And when you look at it that way, you go, wait a minute. That means God made someone for me. Correct. That's the problem with your last guest. They made a great point, is that people too often are looking. Stop looking.
Yes.
Because you're trying to find something. It's like the person who's meant to be in your life, it's amazing how they get put there. You're not going fishing for them. And I think that's what society is teaching people, is go out there and find it, go get it. It's like, no. When you seek the truth, you seek the kingdom first, then all the other things are given to you.
That's right. I love that. There's a song for that. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything will be added unto you.
But it's against what the world teaches. And so that's especially with that younger generation. they're being taught one way, and people that have wisdom can say, wait a minute, they're being taught the wrong thing.
That's
I
right.
think when you look at like the divorce rate and stuff like this on the younger generation, when you have experience, you can say, let me just tell you from my experience. And some people are hard-headed. I was a little stubborn growing up, and you get a few lumps, and then you start to learn. But when you sow those seeds, eventually that person's going to remember, hey, I remember that person that told me this is going to take work.
Yes.
And I think too often people have gotten used to a way of living of a quick fix.
Yes.
And because of that quick fix, everyone thinks it comes easy. If it doesn't come easy, I'm going to get rid of it. But that's not true.
Yes.
Everything takes work.
This is what I heard about these millennials too. They want things quick. So they do expect things quick. They were not taught that things, beautiful things especially, need time.
Mm-hmm.
Rome was not created in one day. That's the same.
It sure wasn't. It was destroyed
Yes.
quickly, though. But I mean, with that stuff, I think it's up to us as individuals, no matter where we're at in our walk, is to help teach them. When you can recognize a problem first, it's being aware that there's an issue, and there's an issue,
Yes.
and then it's a call to action of like, okay, how can I help this? And then it becomes unification because we realize society's, let's just say, different than it should be, and so that's what's educating people. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, I know a different way. Let me help guide people to that, so then they can make a comparison. If you're only taught one thing, that's all you know. It's one
That's
option.
right,
If you
yes.
grew up in a house like myself of divorce, that's normal to you. So it's very different when you see people that have stayed married.
Right.
And so when you can start getting engaging, because with most people and even with society now, it becomes normal to be divorced,
Yeah.
to be miserable. Like, why is that normal?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be normal. It's what's being pushed out there is normal.
That's right. And I don't want to say this very much, but the media is putting out there these negative things that's affecting people. And there's a reason why they call that TV program.
Mm-hmm.
They are programming the people watching them.
Yes, I mean,
That's
television in and of itself is to tell a lie through vision, but that's a whole other thing. Is that
I like that.
I think one of the things that people, they have to start thinking. They have to
Yes.
go back to critical thinking and stop being fed something and just believe it. We have this critical thinking or discernment, and over time, people have gotten very numb. And because of that reason, they've kind of tuned out. And when you can get back to that part of discernment, when you hear something that's wrong, you're like, that's wrong. You don't have to accept something that's wrong. All right? You don't have to sit there and say, well, I'm going to just go along with it. And that's the problem. That line in the sand, even with relationships,
That's right.
keeps on getting drawn back. Or most young people, what's a relationship? That concept is now foreign because it becomes normal to have casual encounters. And how is that person ever going to find or understand love if everything's a casual encounter, and as quickly as you change shoes, you change partners?
That's right.
Right? How is that person ever going to grow unless someone says, listen, that void that you're trying to fill with people, you're not going to fill because you're changing them like socks. Right? There's more to it than that. So you can see that concept is
Yes.
kind of inverted.
Remember the movie The Matrix?
Yes.
Perfect example.
Oh, it absolutely is a perfect example.
Can you please elaborate on that one?
I think that the world, the illusion that's been pulled over on some people is what's now considered normal is upside
Yes.
down. When you know something's it's upside down. It doesn't mean you have to go along with it. But then when a person understands this, you can be that change.
Yes.
If the world keeps on telling you, if the world kept on telling me that I was Puerto Rican, I might believe it.
That's
But when you start to understand and you're secure in who you are, you're not going to believe what you're told just
That's
because
right.
someone says it with authority. It doesn't make it true. You don't have to believe in the rain. You're still going to go outside and get wet. And so that's the thing,
I
is
like
that
that.
truth does not change based on your non-belief.
That's true.
And it's the same thing with a relationship. People know that I think as older generations, they know it takes work. You have a much more willingness to get in there. And as time has gone on, people have gotten more comfortable, which I think is a huge issue. They've gotten lazy. And all of us have become accountable because it's like, wait a minute, darkness never overcomes light. People turn off their light. You don't bring a flashlight into a room and the darkness overwhelms it. It's just people turn off their lights.
That's right.
And that's the thing where people have to start changing and say, wait a minute, I can actually offer something. So I'll do that, even on a small scale. If one child hears, wait a minute, you can be happily married, because they've never seen that, that'll change their whole future. And so it's sowing seeds of that make a big difference.
So it has to be taught, it has to be seen.
Well, you have truth in you. You had to learn lies. All of us do. That's what people don't understand. You have truth inside of you. Over time of conditioning, you start to believe nonsense.
Right.
And then you're like, wait a minute, why am I believing this nonsense? Stuff starts to change and you go, wait a minute, what am I listening to? you never have to be convinced of truth. Truth might not necessarily complement your life, but you're not going to alter truth. You have to alter your life.
Right.
And that's what I think people are starting to do. And it's the same thing. If a child grows up thinking one thing and you tell them the truth, they might not like the truth. It's like when you discipline a child as a parent, you know you're doing it out of love. The child thinks you hate them.
Right.
You understand the bigger picture, the child does not. And so by walking forward with that, saying, I love you, and eventually you'll understand that, then we start to understand God's plan.
Yes.
Because we don't see the big picture, we see this much.
Yeah.
The problem is it's for correction.
There is one thing I learned this morning.
Sure.
Stop living your life through the keyhole. Open the door and see what's out there.
Yes.
So live your life, and open your mind to things, because there is a big worldwide out there to look.
Yeah.
To go look, to go explore.
You have the present. Remember that, people think that's a cliche statement of the present as a gift. No, it's a gift. Because your past are memories. People they get pulled back there and they live there. But that's learning.
Right.
Or they go into their future, which is their imagination, which is where all worry comes from. So you have people living in past and future. How many are actually in the present? They're there for 5 minutes during the day.
That's right.
And when you take your mind out of that and you focus on today, because you're not promised tomorrow, you will appreciate things. But too often when you talk to people like, well, I'm worried about it. Why are you worried about it? It's your imagination. When you can focus on now, everything changes.
That's right. So that's why I keep saying too, at my Toastmaster, because now is the best time to do anything.
Absolutely.
Do not wait till you learn something to go and do it, because if you learn everything about something, you may end up not doing it.
Yeah.
Because you learn it's going to be a challenge, then you don't want challenge. You don't want to go out of your comfort zone, so you're just going to stay there. So.
And you can always be seeking knowledge, never coming to the truth.
That's right. So yes, love is all about the heart, feeling, and all that, and it can be learned. But some people, especially the young generation, if they are not shown love, if they have not experienced love, how are they going to know?
Of course. You have to be an example.
It is our duty as the older generation to show how it's supposed to be, how love is. And me and my daughter is now 26. When she was younger and she was staying with me, when we are together, no cell phones. Put it away, especially in the car. And when I want to tell her something really important, we go for a ride. Because in the car, she won't be able to run away because
that's smart.
In the car.
Yeah.
And she puts away her phone. That's why she is forced to listen to me. But I am very proud of my daughter, because I did not even have to say much. She just watched me and she learned.
Yeah. They pick up a lot more than you think. We set an example.
Absolutely. And she is a way better person than I am. I am very grateful. Yes. And so, again, back to what we're talking about, we got to show in order for people to see, because it's still to see is to believe.
Yes. You're a representative. I mean, it's one thing to raise awareness of a problem. It's another thing to know how to address it. And too often people there's nothing wrong with raising awareness of a problem. But that's just complaining if you don't take action. So when you realize there's a problem, you go, wait a minute, how can I help? We're doing something. Because again, too often we're looking at someone else to address it. It's like, you can address it. You recognize it for a reason, so then address it. With whatever capacity you're able to do that in.
Absolutely. Because we cannot change the other person's opinion anyway. I can change mine. I can change my thinking. I can change my attitude. So if I want something changed, I have to do it myself.
Absolutely.
In fact, I'm a very hands-on person. If I want something to be done, I usually tend to do it. But I should also learn how to delegate. That's one thing. But in order for you to be a good role model, you got to learn yourself. It's either you have learned from growing up, or you can read books and learn the proper way, learn the truth. Read the Bible. You said earlier that the Bible is the living word.
It's a living word.
Yes.
I mean, it's funny because oftentimes people say, like, why did I have to go through stuff? And I go, because we learn through trauma. We're stubborn. Right. We're stubborn children. Yes. No one wants to leave the carnival while they're having fun. So when the carnival burns down, then you'll leave the carnival. And so what ends up happening is, when you look back and you've gone through experience, you go, I get it. Because then you see what? Because we're stubborn.
Yes.
We like to think that we know better. And when you think that you know better, you're going to keep on doing something until you're shown completely you don't know better. You'd be like, I've got to be with this person. Then you get some lumps on your head. You go, this is not the person I'm supposed to be with. But how would you have learned that, right? 15 people could have told you, you're not supposed to be with that person. But again, through experience.
You have to learn it personally.
You learn. When you're talking to a child, don't touch the oven, it's hot. You know some of those kids are going to have to touch the oven.
Yes.
And they go, it's hot. But
so
then
they
you
learn.
It's experiential.
Yes, that's right. Because I am a very stubborn person myself. That's why I have to go through a lot of things in my life to learn it properly.
Me too.
Because they say history repeats itself. It will repeat itself until you learn that lesson that has to be learned with that situation.
Absolutely.
Yes. So yeah, love is so wonderful. Life is not just good. Life is wonderful. Better. Life is excellent. Good is not a good word for me.
No, I think it's so much more freeing. But again, if people listen to what they're being told about the world, talking about shaping someone's perception, you don't need someone to tell you about life or what love is like. You have to experience that for yourself.
Right.
And so it's the same thing if you're shaping someone's idea or concept of love, which is what most people, what do they think love is? They watch a movie.
Right.
That's their concept of love. But again, so they're looking for a fairy tale-esque thing.
Right.
But that's not love. That's a Hollywood-esque version of something. And
That's
so
right.
it takes work. If a person thinks, Prince Charming's going to come and pick me up on a horse, well, what happens after that? And so then people start to learn the truth. It's that it's growing together, learning about each other, being secure, being through the good time. And there's other times that are not so good, but it's sticking through stuff. But
That's
most
right.
people, what are we taught? When something gets hard, run.
Yes. It's what is that? It's fight or flight. Yes. If you can fight it, just run away, something like that. And also, as parents, I don't know if you have children.
I have dogs.
Okay.
I have dogs.
So, in order for your dogs to learn how to be caring and loving, you got to start showing them, right? And for us as parents, it's our duty to show our children love. It's our duty to take care of them and touch them and embrace them and tell them we love them, because that's how they're going to learn how to love.
Yeah, and it's appreciation. I mean, when my wife passed away, you become very appreciative, because it's very, there's an interesting thing is that we tend to complain when we have excess. When you don't have excess, you don't complain anymore. And that's normally what has to happen. You have to lose something, and then you go,
yes.
Now, because then you can appreciate more.
That's
and
right.
That's a learning curve. That's what
it is a learning curve. And I learned too that if you keep complaining, more things to complain about will happen.
Yes.
Again, that's what you think multiplies.
It's like taking toys away from a child.
Yes.
If you want to get a child's attention, do you take one toy away, or do they have to lose everything before you have their full attention?
That's right.
And then life starts to make more sense of what happens with us. It's when he has our full attention, it's like, I'm paying attention now. Again, it's just how many toys are getting taken away.
Wow.
So.
There's a lot of things to talk about.
There's tons. Yes,
and I appreciate you being here.
I'm happy to stop by.
And I really enjoyed this. I learned a lot from you today. See, I thought I know something until I talked to you.
I don't know anything. I get it all from him. I'm just a messenger.
Amazing. Yes, that's true too, because whatever I have is from him anyway. You know what I said to someone, I am a princess because my father is a king. So treat me as one. Or how I perceive because how other people perceive you is the way you present yourself also. So if you present yourself as such, people will treat you that way. Does that make sense?
Someone's perception shouldn't change who you actually are, though, and that's too often
right.
what happens. You don't want someone guiding you.
No, but it has to come from you.
Yes, you have to be
whatever
secure.
you, and they say to that, whatever we need is in us. So that love that we have is in here too. Again, like I said before, you have to have love in order to be able to share love.
Absolutely.
And that love that we have is in here from the universe, from everywhere, from Father, God, and everywhere. And so, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I am looking forward to more talks with you about this.
Thank you.
I learned a lot. Thank you. And everyone out there, I hope you have learned something today so that you can spread more love and really show that love is everywhere. Thank you. And till next time. and spread that love. Make it a love-filled kind of day. Ciao.
God bless.